I'm Karen Town, and you're watching Police Update. And today we are talking with Palos Heights Police Detective Jake Wiegand, who was recently promoted to detective in June, correct?
Yes.
Right, so awesome. And before that, he was a patrolman. He's been with the Palos Heights force for about 5 years. So, Jake, before we kind of get into what your responsibilities as a detective are, can you give me a little bit of history? How did you end up in law enforcement?
Yeah, so I kind of chose between two career paths, military or law enforcement, and law enforcement's the one I chose, and got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and that's pretty much it. That's why I'm here.
And how did you end up in Palos Heights?
So I was a law enforcement officer for the University of Chicago, and then it just wasn't a fit for me, and started applying outside, and Palos Heights caught my attention because my wife's family grew up here and they were hiring at the time, and so that's why, and they called me back and I started here. So
Nice. So you have family in the area and everything. Well,
Yes.
that's kind of great. So what actually inspired you to go into law enforcement when you were sort of weighing those two decisions?
so I knew I didn't really want a desk job, and the excitement and not knowing your day in and day out of the career really drew my attention, so that's pretty much why I picked it.
Great. So as a detective, I know you're kind of new at it, but you know what the job is.
Yeah.
Just what does a typical day look like, or is there ever a typical day?
I wouldn't really say there's a typical day. A lot of it is following up a lot of cases that come across that usually generate from patrol related calls, from retail thefts to identity thefts. A lot of that follow up deals with me behind the desk writing a lot of search warrants. A lot of my day is behind the desk, unfortunately, until I have
Not
to
your
go
original
locate.
plan, but it
No.
worked out that way, huh?
Yes, exactly.
But that's not your whole time.
No, it's not. I have to locate offenders for some cases and stuff like that, which is the exciting part, but it's far and few between.
So it kind of leads me to my next question. I know a lot of people, myself included, we're kind of into those detective shows on TV, CSI and Criminal Minds and stuff. What would you think are the main misconceptions about those kind of shows versus the reality of your role?
Yeah, I would say the main misconception is that everything can be solved within about an hour and a half time frame.
For sure.
Pretty much every investigation I've ever been a part of, it takes days, almost months, sometimes even years, just because there's so many different avenues a certain investigation could come from, following up with bank accounts, depending on the investigation, to vehicle information, and then any other stuff that may be left behind, from DNA to fingerprints. So it takes a long time to be able to get all that stuff gathered and put together.
So I'm guessing you have to have some patience and
Yes.
some
Very much
ability to
so.
just stick with it, even if it must be frustrating sometimes.
Frustrating isn't the word I would use. It's painstakingly slow sometimes, which stinks, but it's just the reality of the situation.
So when you are able to resolve something, that must be makes you feel really great.
Yes, very much so.
Huh. So I know that you mentioned to me that you played basketball in college. So are there any skills from that part of your life that translated well when you came into the role of an officer?
So for detective, I wouldn't say yes, but for patrolman, for getting in the physical confrontations or foot chases, my athletic ability definitely transferred over very well.
Yeah, I was kind of looking maybe the discipline and stuff. I mean, you really have to be committed to what you're doing.
Yes.
It sounds like the whole thing of having to stick with a case, even if it's taken a long time.
Yes, I would agree.
So that's interesting. So what would you say is the best thing about being in law enforcement?
The satisfaction of serving my community really is by far the best. Being able to hold people accountable that need to be held accountable for certain crimes against people in the town that I serve is definitely rewarding.
So, I mean, this is kind of that makes me think about when you were young and you were kind of thinking, what do I want to do when I grow up? Was it always law enforcement, or was there other things that you
No,
mentioned the military?
yeah.
So it's always been those two?
Those two, yeah. It's pretty much what drew my attention.
So did you have family members in the military or in law enforcement? Why did those two sort of rise to the top?
Yeah, my dad was a Marine, And my brother was also, he's discharged out of the Marine Corps now. He's also in law enforcement now. But really, all of the movies that I grew up in, TV shows, were all action-based, usually revolving around detective stuff or law enforcement stuff or military stuff. So it really was just kind of something that I always followed.
And it seems like your family has a real commitment to, to service and wanting to help the community.
Yes.
That's really awesome. Okay, so let's say some young person is contemplating the same career path that you took. You're invited to speak at a career, day or something at the high school. What advice would you give to that person if they're considering a career in law enforcement?
Just to try and keep a positive outlook as much as possible. This career definitely has its negative outcomes and negative energy associated with it, dealing with crimes, and a lot of people are victims of those crimes. So just to try and find healthy outlets to keep a positive mindset, not just kind of let that kind of stuff bring you down, would be my best advice.
That's a really interesting perspective, because you probably see some really challenging situations. And so how do you kind of go home, and what's your ability, how do you actually deal with that, separating that from your, personal life?
Honestly, it's not really one thing that I do. I mean, I spend a lot of time with my family. That helps me disconnect. Staying active, fitness is a big part of my routine. So the biggest thing for me is just find a routine that works best for you. Stick with that routine, honestly.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So, since you've been on the job for several years now, what advice would you give to a rookie cop that had just started on the force? Do you have anything that you think would be really helpful for a new officer?
I think it would go back to just find a routine that works best for you. Find a good outlet like fitness or a hobby or something like that, and make sure to fit it in your daily routine to have that with you, and stick with it. Don't vary from it. Stay with it. That's going to be the best way for you to kind of navigate through everything that you're going to deal with.
So when you became a detective, where you're kind of, again, in the early part of that role, is there kind of a mentor you work with? Or, how, obviously the role has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe talk a little bit about how the role is different and who helped you along the way.
I wouldn't say just one person. One good thing about this department is they kind of I would say they're not going to pigeonhole you. Like, you can try and navigate and do whatever you want to develop yourself. So there's been a lot of different people within the department that have helped me develop my skill set in investigating things to where I am now, which has been huge. So it's been awesome being able to bounce different ideas off of pretty much everybody. And the great thing about this place is everybody tries to help everybody.
That's so great that you guys all work as a team and really help each other out. Okay, so occasionally you probably get a little bit of time off. So what's your favorite thing to do if you get to go on vacation or you just need to recharge?
Well, favorite thing to do is probably spend time with my kids. My kids are pretty much my whole world. So doing pretty much anything with them is absolutely the best.
And how old are your kids?
My kids are 3. My daughter is 3, my oldest, and my youngest is 1, my son.
Wow. Well, you are in the trenches of busy parenthood,
yes,
for sure.
Very much so. Yes.
That's fun. What's your favorite thing to do with them?
Well, they're not really into sports yet, but one day sports will definitely be my favorite. But really, just downtime, playing games, reading books with them before bed is really just the best. Anytime but quality time with them, I really enjoy.
So I just sort of have one more question related to the change in position. What was the biggest change from going from a patrol officer to a detective?
So with patrol, I'm out in the public a lot and driving around, and you're not really stationary. The biggest adjustment for me so far is with my new position, I'm not always stationary, but a lot more stationary at the police station, following up on things, following up on leads, writing search warrants and stuff like that. That's definitely been my biggest adjustment so far.
So as a detective, do you have a partner all the time, or does it depend on the case you're working on? Because I feel like patrolmen usually have like an assigned partner. So how is that?
My partner is my boss, Detective Sergeant Craig Clark. We pretty much work on everything together. So if I'm the case agent, it doesn't just mean that I'm doing it alone. We usually will work on everything together.
Okay, awesome. So, we're still in the throes of summer. Do you have any good safety tips that you'd like to share with our audience that you think would be important for them to consider?
Yeah. So the biggest one I would say is if you're going to mail any type of checks or anything in the mail, do your due diligence, make it priority, or don't just put it in your mailbox. Go to the mail office, spend the extra money, and try to make sure someone signs for it, because that's really a big thing we're seeing now is these checks are being altered, they're intercepted in the mail, and just take the extra time, spend the extra money. It's going to definitely pay dividends in the long run.
Wow, that's just so fascinating because I feel like some people think that a check would be safer than, everybody's so concerned about digital
Yeah.
transactions. So I have heard like certain pens might be better than others. Is that a mystery?
I don't know if that's a misconception. I would just say it's very easy, especially with mobile deposit now, to be able to alter checks very easily and deposit it via electronic means now. So if you mail a physical check in the mail, just try and do due diligence, have someone sign, make it priority mail, all that good stuff.
That's a great tip for our audience. Yeah, definitely. So is a lot of the cases financial
Yes.
fraud and stuff? Oh,
Yes,
wow,
very much
that's
so.
so interesting. Really scary, actually. So, well, anything else you think our viewers would want to know about you as a new detective at the police department?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Everything, yeah.
Well, I know the community really appreciates the work that you and everybody at the station do. So thanks so much for being with us
No
today.
problem.
And thank you so much for sharing that great tip, which I'm going to keep in mind myself.
No problem.
And all of you out there, be sure that you listen to that great advice. So again, thank you for being with us, and congratulations again on your new role. I'm Karen Town, and you've been watching Police Update on PHTV4.